Hello, and welcome to Warrior Radio, Episode 2. With me I have...
I'm Drake.
I'm Salome.
Christian.
So let's get down to business. Real quick, I have to read. Tribe Talk is a student forum for student expression. The students make all content decisions which do not reflect the opinions of Wanda High School or CCSD. With that out of the way, do y'all want to start getting into topics?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so the first thing that I want to talk about is that South Carolina is rated 50th out of 50 in education, which means we're the worst state in the United States for education. And do y'all think that's true? Or have y'all all lived here your whole lives?
No.
No?
No.
Where are you from?
I'm from Atlanta.
How long did you live there?
I lived there 15 years.
So, like, how does Atlanta education compare to Charleston education?
Well, in Atlanta, I don't know. It was a lot weirder because like the teaching wasn't as like personalized, I would say, as here.
Mhm.
It was more of like, all right, here's the material, you do what you got to do with it. But here it's more like if I ask my teacher something, they'll like walk over and like explain it out to me.
Do you think that's a South Carolina thing or Wanda thing?
I think with South Carolina being 50th, obviously there are some problems, but I would say here at Wando, there's definitely a better system of getting things done.
So you think like Wanda is like a exception?
I would definitely say Wanda's an exception because when it says South Carolina is number 50, it's talking about the whole of South Carolina and the average of all the scores. But if you break it down and you go to Wando, the average of Wando scores is probably higher than what the average of South Carolina is.
I agree.
Yeah.
You know, I'm curious about how much more money we pour into our schools than other states, and compare the education levels. Because I feel like sometimes when you pour too much money into a school, distractions can arise from that.
What do you mean?
So like if you were buying a new football stadium, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously kids are going to want to go to the game instead of like focusing on extracurriculars or stuff that they have to do. And like sometimes when you pour too much money into something, I think distractions arise in other places around the school.
Speaking of football, there's been a lot of controversy in like the news recently about NFL players kneeling during the national anthem. Do any of you guys, before you say your opinion, do you have like more facts that you can say about it? Give more background to it?
Well, the Pittsburgh Steelers actually just recently, instead of kneeling, they stayed in the locker room during the national anthem. And one player had stayed out at the tunnel, and it was Charlie Villanueva, who is a former veteran. And actually, when that happened, his jersey was the number one selling jersey on
And
NFL.
he also apologized for it because apparently it was an accident and he didn't know that the rest of his teammates were still going to be in the locker room. So he just went out, and then immediately after he apologized, saying that it was his fault, that he made his peers basically just look bad for not standing for the pledge.
Oh
His
man.
fault.
Are you going to say some facts, or are you ready to get into your opinion?
I mean they've pretty much well.
When did the whole kneeling thing start? With
Colin Kaepernick.
It started 6 months ago with Colin Kaepernick, and everyone. I think a lot of people made him look like a villain, but now the people who are doing it are made to look more like heroes.
Why are they kneeling?
So from what I know, and from what has been said, they are kneeling because of injustices that have been brought upon the African American community by police, mainly police brutality. But I think if you take a step back and look at the statistics, yeah, there are a few bad seeds, and yes, that is a problem. But I think more, like if you look at the statistics, there's more black on black crime and white on white crime. And I think while yes, this police brutality stuff is a serious thing that needs to be, gotten rid of, I think it's more like people just wanting to like put limelight on a new topic instead of focusing on like the bigger picture.
Do you think that maybe they should be focusing on these NFL players that beat their wives? Like these same people that won't stand for the national anthem?
I definitely think they should. I mean, a crime is a crime regardless.
I'm
Like,
not saying all NFL players beat their wives, but it's just these very rich athletes, you know, like
Yeah.
they get away, they do these bad crimes, and then they're seen as heroes for not standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
yeah,
I think I appreciate the fact that they're using their platform to get out
Mhm.
a
Yeah.
point, but I don't know if the Pledge of Allegiance is the most appropriate place to deliver their point with their platform. I think, I mean, obviously most of them have a huge social media following, and we've seen how influential social media can be nowadays, and I think using social media is a better way to use this and a less controversial way to use this than actually bringing it to the field.
I think that it's fine. Like I'm not trying to say that this isn't a problem, because it is. But I think there needs to be a separation between football and not football.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, like these people have social media followings. They can do what they want off the field. But when it comes to all these politics and like just the politics of football, makes me personally not want to watch football, NFL anymore. And I know many people who have the same opinion. As you can see, their ratings have been down, and
yeah. I mean, my personal opinion on it is I get why they're doing it, and I agree with what they're thinking. I don't agree with their actions. I think with how famous they are and how big of an impact just kneeling has brought on, I think if they actually spoke out and did it outside of the national anthem, I think it could bring a lot more attention to it. Because, like, think of this, like, a guy kneels during it and it blows up in the news. But if he just stands and does the Pledge of Allegiance and then goes out of his way and makes a platform for it and uses social media or goes to the public or goes to just media in general, I think they could make a bigger impact than just kneeling. And I think an interesting thing someone told me was kneeling is a sign of submission. And so the message they're conveying just by kneeling is that they're submitting themselves to the flag, when in their heads they're saying, I'm standing up for the injustices brought upon African Americans.
That's a good point.
Salme, what are your thoughts?
Well, basically, I definitely think that anyone has a right to not stand for the national anthem. Like, when you're watching a football game and the national anthem comes on and you see the players standing, you're not going to stand. Like, you're sitting at home on your couch. Like, you're not going to take time for that. But then you see them kneeling, and a lot of people get offended because they think that, oh, this is not fair. Like, there are so many veterans out there fighting for your country. Be grateful. But when in reality, they just want to bring awareness to something. And with this huge platform, I definitely think that, of course, social media is a way to do it, except this brings so much more attention than a post on
does.
Instagram.
Yeah.
So do you think that, I mean, obviously they have the right to. There's no law that
Yeah.
says they have to stand. But do you support them doing it during the NFL or not? Like, do you think it's a good thing or not?
I honestly do. Like, I'm for people speaking out, no matter, like, well, there are, like, inappropriate times, but before a football game, like, they're here to play. But at the same time, if they can do something for their audience other than win a game, they want to get their opinion out there.
Okay. Do you think, like, it would be different if it weren't, like, let's say they were kneeling for domestic violence? Would it be any different? Or if they were kneeling for a different subject or a different cause?
Well, I think that if it was, it honestly just depends on the people that it affects and how they take it, and if they think, well, just a lot of people think that they aren't being grateful for the country that they live in, and there are people out there fighting for them, and they see that as a lack of respect, but they haven't taken the time to acknowledge what they actually are kneeling for.
Yeah, the controversy starts a lot when, like, there's, like, veterans who are, you know, dying for that flag, and they come home, watch football, and they see people that won't even stand for it, it's just has to hurt a veteran, you know.
I think an interesting thing to think about is like, think about this. A football player can kneel during the national anthem and then play a game. And if they lose, they get another chance. But veterans, when they lose, they got one chance. And that was their chance. And it was them doing what they thought was right to protect the freedoms and rights of people. Now, I completely believe in freedom of speech and freedom of protest.
Oh, yes.
If you want to speak out against something, by all means do it. But I think being on a platform that big and having as much influence as you can have, especially on younger generations, I think something like that is not something that you should do. Because to me, when I see NFL, I think of entertainers.
Mhm.
They're athletes and they're super athletes, but they're also entertainers. They're on TV for entertainment. It's called sports entertainment. So I think as much as they would like to speak out, I think they should just go through the motions, and then if they truly do believe in what they want to stand out against, they can go onto a different platform and do it.
I think people are misinterpreting. I support free speech and I support the First Amendment as a journalist, but I don't think people understand what free speech means. Like, for example, yes, people have the right to say, legally they have the right to kneel, or they have the right to say whatever it is that they want to say, but the reactions that, the way that people see them and like the social reactions that people have, that's not protected by law. You can't say you can't get mad at me because it's just free speech. Well, of course it's protected under the law, but people still have the right to be mad at these players that are kneeling. Like, I can go up to a cop and say, I hate cops. Of course, that's not illegal, but it's just the social reaction. Of course, all these people around me may not agree with me, and of course, I love police officers, But my point is that I think free speech is not necessarily an excuse to wipe all anger that people have.
Right. You're saying like free speech is not. You shouldn't abuse free speech as a platform, right? Like you should use free speech in the context it is given.
Mm-hmm.
Because, free speech is free speech, but you'll still have to deal with the ramifications of what you say.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to say.
Right.
Thoughts?
I think free speech is like such a gray area right now because
Definitely.
yeah,
Free speech and hate speech. It's
That-
such a controversial topic.
yeah, that's something that our colleague has like brought up a lot. Hate speech. Is hate speech free speech? Because when you use hate speech, people say, well, that's incorrect and you shouldn't say that, and that's true, but it's legal.
It's still protected.
Yeah, it's still protected. So, what defines free speech, and should hate speech be free speech?
We plan on doing a piece on that on one of the future episodes, so it's something to keep forward to. Do you have any other thoughts on the NFL kneeling?
Really, I just think this is my current piece for this episode, and I was talking to a veteran, and he said when he became an officer, he swore to himself that he would fight and protect the Constitution and everything that's in it. But then he also said that he thought that that there are plenty of ways to do it, and that however 2-minute time frame is not a time that you should be doing it.
I agree. I think that they totally have the right to do it, but I think that we should keep politics and football
Yeah.
separate.
Yeah.
So that's just my opinion. Whatever your opinions are, please let us know. You ready to move on to another topic that I've been thinking about recently? It's student jobs and how they affect students' grades. I know some people they take easy classes. They don't challenge themselves, but they do have money because they have a student job. And yeah, they learn a lot from their student job. There's things that I have learned that are life lessons that you can't teach me in school, and I learned these from working at a job over the summer. Or do you guys think that students should have jobs during the school year? And do y'all have jobs? Like, what are your thoughts?
I think it depends on who you are and what your situation is. For people that don't really have a lot of money and they need to support their household, obviously I think it's appropriate for them to have a job. They need to bring in the money, and that just kind of goes hand in hand with the types of education. Like, you're forced to learn certain things: math, science, English, and social studies, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when that interferes with your personal well-being, like the fact that you're forced to take those, that like inflicts your job, I think it hurts families kind of, because when your parents have to pay for you, but when you start bringing in money, then that kind of takes away from that, like a family that's not well off. So I think student jobs are necessary to certain families, but to other families, obviously you should be focused on education, because that's where you get the higher up jobs.
I think that student jobs are definitely a great way for more kids to learn. What?
Continue.
Just things that you don't get taught at home or at school, basically to respect, like, whether it be customers or managers.
Have you ever had a job?
Sorry. Oh, I can't have a job because I was born in France and I'm here on a visa. So,
If you could get a job, would you?
yes.
Okay. Have y'all ever had jobs? You ever
I've had a job.
So I do summer jobs
Mm-hmm.
because during the school year, Coach Noonan is very adamant about us quitting our jobs or just working weekends, because while I'm doing football during the season, I'm here for at least, like at the very minimum, 12 and a half hours a day. And that's Monday through Wednesday. And then my one day off is Thursday, but I still have to get here early in the morning. And then Fridays, I get here later in the morning, but then I get home from anywhere from like 12:30 to 3:30. So like I would definitely have a job if I could have one, because that's a great way to make money. But with the situation that I'm in right now, with the time frame that I'm on, I can't have one. And I think working a weekend job, yeah, like I definitely could do it, but I would also like that time to myself, because I'm working so much with other stuff.
Yeah, especially like with school on top of that. Like, it's just like so much, especially when you're taking like AP classes and trying classes. Like, I spend some of my weekends like just writing papers.
Mhm.
So, thoughts? Like, do you have a student job, or like do you have a job?
I do. I work for Millennia Medical Staffing, but I get to choose my hours, so it's not like a set schedule that I have to work by, which is a lot different than most people. Most people, like, they're waiters at a restaurant or something, and they tell you when to come in. So I can't really speak on the standpoint of having a set amount of hours and like having that inflict my school, but I think that you need to draw a line between education and money if your family's well off. I think that's a line that needs to be drawn, because education should come first.
And I agree. Education should come first. Because education is like the long-term goal. Getting a student job to save money now is like not as good of a goal. And especially like, I know families, like some of my friends are really well off. Like, they won't have to work during their high school career at all. But they can, but they don't, because they say their parents don't want them to work so they can focus on school. I think that's fine. If a parent doesn't want their child to work so they can focus on school and they need that push, go for it. My family didn't want me having like a job during the year. I worked at a bike store for 2 years over the summer, and that was great. Because I learned things like leadership and like time management. I was always there at work. It's good having a schedule. I learned how to deal with people, which is like a skill that I still use every day. But now here I am as a senior. I want a job over the summer, and I don't have. I want a job now, but I don't have time. So it's like now I'm at the point with my film where I can go film and do photo shoots with all my spare time. And I think that's like a job that I'm just so grateful to have because I get to choose my hours. A lot of times if I'm like, I want to work this weekend, then I say, all right, let's do that photo shoot. Or if I'm like, I can't work that weekend, I'm like, not taking, schedules. Not everyone has that liberty though.
Right.
So I think, especially like senior year, junior year, it's just such an important time with scholarships and applications that I think that if your family, like you said, if your family can financially support themselves, then you should like stay away from having a student job.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely think it's something that like people should look into and definitely like see at least what their options are because like you said, like having a student job is beneficial. Like you learn leadership, you learn like real life skills that you might not get to learn in school. Like for instance, from the middle of November to the middle of January, I was homeless, and so I was working a lot of side jobs and staying with people. But when I was working those side jobs, it really did show me that like sometimes like doesn't matter what your situation is, you just gotta buckle down and like go through it. And so like I definitely appreciate the side jobs that I worked because they definitely like took my mind off of a lot of the stuff that was going on.
What time of the year was that at?
So that was last year. It was November of 2016, like the middle of November 2016 to the middle of January 2017.
And were you on the football team during that time?
I was, and I had to miss a lot of practices and a lot of workouts, and I had to pay the piper for it. Like even with that situation going on, when I got back, my coach was like, "All right, like this is what you got to do since you missed all these workouts and all these practices."
And do you think that's like fair? That's justified?
I mean, I don't hold it against him. I can see where he's coming from. I missed the work, so I had to put in extra. And like with the point that I'm at now, like being a junior and starting, I definitely appreciate having had to do that because, like, I don't know, it really did kind of change me. Like before, I was just kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, like football's fun. I do it as a side, but now like after going through all that and like putting in the work for it and then seeing where I am now, like I am 100% committed to it, and I'm grateful that I had to do that work.
Wow.
I think jobs at a young age teach a good work ethic because when you're in school, the teachers give you the work, but you don't have to do it. You're not getting paid to do it. So a lot of people just kind of put it to the side. But when you do a job, you can get fired from that job. So it's not an option to do it or not. You have to do it. So I think jobs at a young age teach a good work ethic for most young people.
Yeah, and you don't even have to get paid for it. It could be an internship that you can do for school, but once you get out of high school, it depends what you do, if you go on to college or just stop there and decide that now's the time to get a job, or even after college, once you want to get a job, you don't know where to start because most people that are going to be at that job will have the experience of working student jobs, and I feel like you might just be behind on the skills that they've already learned at a younger age.
Most of the skills that I learned are just maturity.
Yeah.
Like the skills that I learned at a bike store are skills that I use on a film set. Just like leadership, like how to deal with people, problem solving. I think it not necessarily like working at a bike store puts me ahead of the game, but I think just like the skills that I learned, whether it's through working a job or through something else, I think just it's a good way to get those skills. And like working a job in college, I know people that like work, they go to college, they take the college classes and they work, and that's impressive. So speaking of which, a lot of these student jobs are minimum wage. What are y'all's thoughts on South Carolina's minimum wage?
So what is South Carolina's minimum wage?
$7.25, right?
Let me fact check. But while I fact check, y'all worked minimum wage at your jobs, right?
I did not.
No, I was paid no, I was not paid minimum wage.
At the bike store, I was, they treated me well. It was, right above minimum wage. I think it's, like almost $8, something like that. Nothing special, but I think there's a lot like in the news. One of the things is minimum wage, especially during the election. There's Bernie Sanders saying we needed a higher minimum wage. What are your thoughts on minimum wage?
I definitely agree that we do need a higher minimum wage because if some students are working jobs to support their family and they also have to focus on their education, of course they're not going to be getting paid enough to support their family. And even adults who work minimum wage and haven't gotten past a high school diploma, it's hard to even pay for their college education to get a better job because of their minimum wage. And they also have to pay for shelter and food. I definitely think that it should be raised.
Well, currently is $7.25, and I know that when I worked at the bike store, like let's say I wasn't at school, like when I was there, like making, close to minimum wage, like that would have been hard to support myself on.
Yeah.
But the counter argument is like these businesses that like can barely stay afloat, can they afford a higher minimum wage?
Well, if you look at McDonald's, that is a humongous franchise. I definitely think that they should be able to accommodate for their workers.
What happens when they start like you've been to like they start like putting like the McDonald's machines where you just like go, you press your button.
Yeah.
What happens when I think if minimum wage just wasn't raised, then maybe they wouldn't have done that. Like the self checkout at all these stores now.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that minimum wage is the raise of minimum wage is an incentive to do that?
I mean, yeah, raising minimum wage is definitely a double-edged sword
Mm-hmm.
in certain places. Like you said, if you want to raise minimum wage, then automated machines are going to start taking your job. Like that's just fact because people are going to do what benefits them the most. And these McDonald's some of them are locally owned franchises. So they can't get the money from the overall McDonald's chain. They produce the money. So if these people are asking for higher wages, obviously the person who owns it is going to put automated machines because it's going to be more convenient for them. It's going to bring in more revenue for them.
That's why a lot of small businesses fail. I'm right now looking at what percentage of small businesses fail, but I think it's because of minimum wage. Like, okay, let's say hypothetically we raise minimum wage from $7.25 to like $10. I know that's like a crazy amount. $8, another 75 cents. How would that affect like the amount of small businesses that succeed? Because these people, like, I know that I've been in a business like where they have like an expansion where they open another store, and for several months, like when you open another store, that store is losing money for like months, if not years, until it gets to the point where it's making money. Do you think that raising minimum wage is going to affect that, and will it like not like be like the not incentivize people to start their businesses, or what are your thoughts?
It's definitely going to raise the difficulty. It's going to make it harder to start your own business if you
Yeah.
raise minimum wage because that's just more money you have to pour into the workers. And when you start a business, the first thing you think about is not going to be paying the workers. It's going to be, how am I going to start the business? How am I going to get this building? And then you start thinking about the workers. So to me, the workers have never really been the number one priority. It's all about starting it up.
Well, workers are what run the
Right.
whole business, and so I feel like if they had a larger wage, then they would have something like a bigger goal to work for, and maybe put in more effort. I don't know.
80% of small businesses fail within a year,
Wow.
within their first year. What do you think that number would be with a higher minimum wage?
Well-
Just like I'm not just throwing the idea out there, trying to play devil's
Right.
advocate.
I think that It depends the type of business and how small it is. Like, how many workers are you gonna need? What are you paying? But it depends how many people are running the business. I don't know. I don't know.
I think sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Okay,
I think a good reason why the minimum wage will never be increased, it's because there's always someone out there that's willing to be paid less. Like, if you're paying someone $7.25, and there's going to be someone desperate enough for a job that's, or well, they can't legally be paid $7.25, lower than $7.25. Let's say there's someone making $7.50 and they want more. There's always someone willing to make $7.25 there. So that's a reason why the minimum wage will probably never get raised. It's because there's always someone like just willing to make less because they're so desperate.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just the way competition. Like
Yeah.
I think, except for the adjustment for inflation, for future inflation, I think that it's not going to change.
Yeah, and the quality of work definitely suffers with that. So that's another factor to keep in mind. Would you rather have quality of work, or would you rather want the money short term? You know, that's definitely something to consider.
I don't know. What I'd really like to see is like, I get what you're saying about small businesses, but if we like, let's expand our view and look at the big businesses too.
Yeah.
I think instead of these big businesses paying minimum wage to all their employees, I think the employees should be put on a salary, because then it wouldn't be, oh, I want a higher minimum wage, and it wouldn't be as much of a controversial topic as it is. If these people are put on a salary, then, you know, when they, like I know with some businesses they do like Christmas bonuses, and then like every couple of years you'll get a raise in your salary. I think with these big businesses and the billions of dollars that they're making, I think they could definitely afford to put their employees on salaries. So however many hours you would have someone working a week, and however much that would be in minimum wage, instead of being minimum wage, make it a salary.
Okay.
But I definitely think for small businesses, I definitely think having a minimum wage and like a wage is a better thing, because then it's not, well, this is what your set salary is going to be. It's more of, well, this is what we can pay you right now, and then once this business gets bigger and we can produce more revenue, then we can start looking into different things.
I feel like there's some like economist watching right now, just freaking out because we don't know what we're talking about. One last thing that I want to go over is the Lucy Beckham High School. They're building a new high school named after Lucy Beckham, who was the
Principal.
previous principal here at Wanda, who passed away. Do you guys know anything about Lucy Beckham?
I don't know the high school or her.
The high school.
Okay, so what I've heard from various coaches and teachers is that it will be a sister school to Wando. And so it won't be Wando Lucy Beckham. It'll be, you'll take some classes at Wando, and then there will be classes at Lucy Beckham that they can transport you to. This is all stuff that I've heard. I'm in no way saying this is 100% true, but this is what I've heard from staff members of Wando.
Have y'all heard anything? Can you
Uh,
confirm this?
I live near that area, and
Where
the-
is
they're-
it being built?
so you know where the old Wando Stadium is?
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's on that property.
Oh, so
Oh,
like
okay.
the original Wanda
Right.
is, they tore that down.
Yeah, it's the
Oh,
flat
okay.
ground right there.
How
So
ironic.
So yeah, it's gonna be ready the year I graduate, 2019. So I think what will be interesting about the school is there's already so many people that go here like me but live in the other area, and I'm wondering how willing they would be, because they've already made connections here at Wando, right? Like, I'm in Tribe Talk, and what will Tribe Talk be like in the other school? Will Tribe Talk exist, right?
Yeah.
So I think what will be interesting is how many people in that area will attend that school, because they've already made so many connections here. How willing would they be to switch?
Well, I think they'll be more willing to switch if it's a sister school.
Right.
So, like, if you can be in here for third block and, like, maybe just take a class or two at Lucy Beckham and come here, or will football players at Lucy Beckham be part of Wando?
Yeah,
I mean, I would think if it's a sister school and it would be like you could take classes here and take classes there, I think, yeah, it would be just it would still be, Wando football. I mean, they might change the name. I don't know.
Just
I mean,
sounds-
like Christian said, like I'm graduating in 2019, which is when that school will be built. So I won't know what they'll change it to.
This sounds like a logistic nightmare to me.
Yeah.
It does, yeah.
I honestly don't know how we're able to fund this.
I don't either.
All these things, like a new stadium, a new high school, with the amount of debt that we're in. But
Do you know the amount of debt that we're in?
I don't know.
I
it's
know
a
last year was
big
$19
number.
million.
Yeah.
We were in debt $19 million this year.
This year, I'm not sure if that number, it's had to
It's
increase.
about one
with-
stadium.
Yeah, with a stadium, a school. I mean, we did close down Lincoln, and all the Lincoln's kid came here, and that would provide relief. But then you go and build a new stadium, and the relief is instantly gone. So I don't. The number has definitely increased, but I don't see how we're funding this school.
Yeah.
I don't know where we get our funding.
I
Maybe
don't
do it.
know.
That'd be an interesting thing to find out. Like
Yeah,
where,
yeah,
like
that's a
maybe
good question.
maybe like there's like something like special set up with like the state government because we are the largest school in South Carolina.
Or
Maybe
maybe
they
that's
have-
why they changed our new attendance policy, because the school does get more funding the more kids are here every day. So that's why we're only allowed like 5 unexcused absences a semester, which
It's a good
Is
connection.
it
actually.
top?
I wonder who
Itself.
handles that money, because we at Tribe Talk, we have a really awesome setup.
oh yeah.
But
Very
yet-
expensive
yet,
setup.
like, we have a lot of equipment that's thousands of dollars, and we use it once a year.
Yeah.
Then we have equipment that we use every day, like, for example, like a DSLR, we have a couple of those.
And we have equipment that we've never even
Yeah,
used.
so I wonder who determines that.
That's a good question
I don't
because
know.
I'd like to interview that person and ask them.
Or just have a conversation with
Yeah.
them. Like, this is,
Yeah.
like, because there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that I think a lot of us take for granted.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know, I feel like,
Yeah.
why would I, like, and I've tried to talk to people about this, and they're just like, I don't care. As long as, like, I go to class, and, you know, not a lot of them have, like, extracurriculars, but I don't know. It's just wonder where this money comes from.
It's a good question. It's a question that I think we're being hidden from. And, like, why? Where's this money coming from? You know? No one knows.
I mean, someone knows. Just
Someone
not us.
knows.
Just
Someone
not the four
knows.
of us.
I mean, I know for football, like we just built the new weight room and it looks incredible. Like we expanded it out and then got whole new racks, whole new bars, like all new equipment. And I know like football raised every cent of that money. Like all like 200 players went out and sold pamphlets for $20 each. And like if you sold all of them, you made $320. And if you made $320 and you sold all of them, they would give you 2 for free, and then they would put your name in a hat for a drawing for money because you raised $320. And this year, it was even crazier. They had 2 $500 drawings, which was insane.
Yeah.
Dang.
Dang, is that weight room open for everybody or just the football players?
So the weight room is open. As far as I know, you just have to have a coach in there with you. But you can take a weightlifting class. I know they just rebuilt it for football because there were so many guys, and it was getting to the point where there were 5 to 6 guys in one group, and when you start off, you're on higher reps and lower weight, so it's 5 to 6 guys all doing 10 reps, and then some guys need to change the weight. Some guys can't do as much as others, and so you have to change that weight, and it takes forever. And we only have an hour in the morning to work out. And so it's they expanded the weight room, and now it's 3 guys in a group, and they're still open racks.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I support that. Heck, if anyone wants to go raise money, go raise money.
Yeah, for sure. If you raise your own money, I think it's awesome that if you could do what you want with it, that's that's crazy. If you could, let's say Miss Hughes wanted to buy a new Premiere, or we want to go to a trip,
Mhm.
sell ads. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, what we in Tribe Talk are doing now is we're selling ads, and so you can see find the details out. But like we sell ads to local businesses, and we either create the ad for them or we run one of their previous ads on Tribe Talk. So that's a good way to reach out to 4,000 kids or over 4,000 kids, and then we're going to start doing sponsorships on the podcast so we can help raise money to get more, nice mics or new equipment to help out everyone else in Tribe Talk or things like that. So, I mean, we are trying to do the same thing that they're doing in football, but I find that people care more about football than they do about student journalism.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that, but like from someone who's done it like two seasons in a row, having to go out and sell, it's tough. People don't want to put down $20 for it. But basically what it is it's like this giant coupon sheet that's worth over $200 and you're getting it for $20.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people aren't willing to buy it. And so it is rough. So like you have to go like, basically what we'll do is we'll start off with people we know who will do it, and we go to them, and then we can kind of expand out from there. But I do think it'll definitely be harder for Tribe Talk and the podcast to raise this money and to get these advertisements because people, like you said, people don't care as much about student journalism as they do football. But I would also say it's pretty interesting that if we do get these business to sponsor us, not only is it going out to over 4,000 students, plus the teachers, plus YouTube,
Their
plus
parents,
parents who watch, like the platform that we have is huge.
Oh yeah. Because people, I mean, I'm not going to beat around the bush. You're forced to watch it. You have an advisement, right? So it's not like the newspaper where it's kind of at a student's will to read it. But Tribe Talk, people have to watch it. So that's like a guaranteed amount of kids. So I think people will be more willing to actually support it because they know they're going to get exposure. Their businesses are gonna be seen.
Cool. I mean, do y'all have anything else to add?
No?
Good.
Cool. Well, I guess that wraps up Warrior Radio episode number 2. Look forward in the next couple weeks for episode 3. So, bye.